let's get started. Hello, everyone.
Everyone, good to see you all.
Good morning. Great to see everyone out here. Great to see all our employees out here and our dignitaries and media. My name is Mark Becker, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Dexterra Group. And Dexterra Group is the parent organization of NRB Modular Solutions, which is part of our company. As the preeminent leader in modular manufacturing and construction in Canada, we're very honored today to be welcoming our distinguished guests to our plant and our manufacturing facility. This is one of 4 such facilities that we have across Canada. And among our range of residential, commercial, and industrial modular product lines, our single and multifamily, affordable and supportive housing projects are a key part of the affordable housing solution in Canada. Rapid modular manufacturing construction improves build time and build cost by 50% and brings projects to fruition quicker, allowing continued work and working indoors in a manufacturing facility in a modular manufacturing setting. Allows continued work on spring days like today. And only in Calgary could we have a great example of the modular value proposition as an April snow day like we've had yesterday and today. Modular also improves the quality of build, reduce construction waste, and improves certainty of project execution. NRB continues to be a leader in this space with over 60 supportive housing and affordable housing projects completed in the last 10 years across Canada. And this is more housing built than any other modular builder in Canada. We're very proud to continue to make a significant contribution to the social and affordable housing challenge in Canada. And so with that, I'd like to introduce George Chahal, Member of Parliament for Calgary Skyview, for his remarks.
Thank you, Mark, for the kind introduction. Good morning. Bonjour à tous. I'd like to begin that we join you here on the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta and the traditional home of the Blackfoot Confederacy, including the Siksika, Piikani, and the Kainai, the Tsuut'ina Nation, and the Ayade Nakoda Nations, and the people of Métis Nation of Alberta, District 4. As a child and young adult, I had the opportunity to work on many construction sites and building many homes. Creating and building are imprinted in my memories. Whether it was my first campaign in 2007 or my many years on City Council, I've realized a vibrant, sustainable city needs to have complete communities that one can be born in, grow up, raise a family, and retire, close to amenities with a diversity of housing types. I'm excited to see today this factory and these innovators investing and improving the construction process so we can build faster and better. And that's what we need to do to meet our housing challenges. For newcomers to Canada, like my parents, who came here to start a new life, or youth and young adults in our community, knowing they have an opportunity to have an affordable place to rent or own in the future is an essential part of being Canadian. With the Housing Accelerator Fund, we are speeding up approvals, maximizing existing infrastructure, and ensuring appropriate densification. And Budget 2024 is focused on making critical investments today to ensure that opportunities are available for all in the days ahead. To tell us more about today's exciting announcement, I would like to introduce my friend and colleague, the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau.
It's great to be back in Calgary, George. It's great to see you so soon. It seems I was just here a few weeks ago, but as always, your outstanding work and being such a strong voice for folks here and for all of Canada, I really appreciate. Great to have you here, George. Thank you, Mark, for having us here at NRB Modular Solutions in Calgary. Thank you especially to all of you who are working so hard to innovate new solutions, to work in new ways, to deliver more and more the housing and the infrastructure that Canadians need right across the country. It is a really amazing thing to see the innovation and the hard work that you are delivering every single day, making the country better and fairer for all Canadians. I'm also happy to be here with Ministers Fraser and Boissonnault. Now, for more than a week now, I've been talking about new measures in our upcoming budget to make the housing market fairer for every generation. Younger generations like millennials and Gen Z feel like they're falling behind because housing costs are just too high. That's okay. That's not okay, and it needs to change. For Canada to succeed, we need everyone to succeed, which is why we're tackling head-on the challenge of building more homes faster. Everyone to join us on this mission. Quand on parle de construction de logements plus rapidement, il ne faut pas oublier de parler d'innovation. Une des solutions pour augmenter l'offre plus vite, c'est de changer la manière de construire les logements pour construire mieux et plus intelligemment. We want to accelerate the pace of construction to levels not seen since the end of the Second World War. To do that, we need to change our approach and adopt innovative technologies. We need more made-in-Canada success stories like here at NRB Modular Solutions, the largest modular building solutions provider in the country. And more centralized manufacturing sites where the best workers in the world, Canadian workers, can build faster for cheaper all year round with the help of innovative solutions around robotics, AI, and innovation. That's why in Budget 2024, we will announce a package of over $600 million specifically for innovative housing solutions. This package will, you can pull up to that, yeah. This package will include the launch of a new $50 million home building technology and innovation fund. The goal of this fund will be to provide more homes faster by scaling up and promoting innovative technologies and materials like modular and prefabricated homes. The package will also include another $50 million to modernize and expedite home building through the regional development agencies. Dans le prochain budget, on va investir plus de 600 millions de dollars dans un ensemble de mesures pour encourager des solutions innovatrices pour le logement. Des mesures comme 50 millions de dollars pour créer le nouveau Fonds pour l'innovation et la technologie en construction résidentielle et un autre 50 millions de dollars à travers les agences de développement régional pour soutenir l'impression 3D, la robotique et la construction en bois massif partout à travers le pays. We will also revive and modernize the government's post-war housing design catalogue with up to 50 new designs for row housing, duplexes, fourplexes, and other high-density designs that we need to build at scale faster. We know that builders want to be able to build quickly and right for Canadians. The permitting can be accelerating when we draw from these catalogues for these more high-density housing. It'll help the work people are doing here. It'll help build more homes right across the country that families can get into quicker. Also, as part of this new package, through the Apartment Construction Loan Program, we'll also deliver $500 million in low-cost financing to support projects using innovative techniques from prefabricated and modular housing manufacturers and other home builders. Sean va pouvoir offrir plus de détails dans quelques instants, mais ce qu'il faut retenir, c'est qu'on prend les grands moyens pour augmenter l'offre de logements rapidement. Et l'innovation et la technologie sont au centre de notre plan pour y arriver. Toutes les générations méritent une chance équitable de réussir, y compris les milléniaux et la génération Z. We're focused on fairness for every generation. We're focused on building more housing supply to make homes more affordable. We're fighting every day for an economy that works for everyone. Thank you very much. I'm now happy to pass it over to Minister Fraser. Sean.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Look, it's good to be back in Calgary. For those who may not be aware, I called this city home for about 5 years and care deeply about the people who live in this city, and I'm happy to be on site for an important announcement. Before I begin, I'd just like to acknowledge all the folks here for their warm welcome to allow us a tour. Mark, thanks so much for showing us around today. But most importantly, to the workers on site, you may not realize when you come to work every day, but you're the folks who are going to solve the national housing crisis, and I want to say thank you for the work that you do sincerely. To my colleagues, Randy and George, two stalwart advocates for this province. They are in my ear constantly about the strategies that we can deploy to help build more houses to support communities right across Alberta, and between them have advocated successfully for more than $400 million through the Housing Accelerator Fund for the cities that they represent, and more, of course, for the province as a whole. We're living in a housing crisis here in Canada. It's impacting people in very real and very human ways. When I talk to young people, there's too many who are priced out of the market in the city where they have their first job opportunity. Some are turning down those opportunities because they can't afford a place to live. I'm talking to a lot of students who are choosing between living in overcrowded, sometimes unsafe accommodations near campus, or having to commute more than an hour and foregoing the opportunities that they would have to build relationships that would last a lifetime, or perhaps to focus on their studies to improve their ability of finding that next job. I talk to a lot of seniors who just want to be able to age in the communities where their grandkids are being raised, but can't find a place when they're ready to downsize to free up that family home that they raise their own kids in. And I'm talking to too many workers who are putting up the buildings that we need to see to solve the housing crisis, who may not even be able to afford to live in them. We don't have to accept that as the path forward in this country, but it's going to demand that we do things in different ways. We're going to be launching a comprehensive suite of policies over the next few weeks that's designed to solve the national housing crisis. The plan is going to focus on 3 key areas. The first is to build more homes, the second is to support Canada's most vulnerable, and the third is to make it easier to rent or buy a place in this country. Build more homes, and specifically changing the way that they build them across Canada so we can actually build at a new capacity. Now, there's a number of things that we've done over the past few weeks, the past few months, including reducing taxes on new construction, low-cost financing to kickstart more construction. We've also been making it easier to build homes in cities through the Housing Accelerator Fund by incentivizing changes to municipal zoning and permitting processes. But even if we develop a perfect framework from a policy point of view on the financing side of things, on the tax side of things, on the municipal approval side of things, we're going to run into a new bottleneck. And that's the capacity of the Canadian workforce to actually build the homes to address the demand that exists today. We can't expect to do things the same way and achieve a different result. And that brings us to why we're here today. We need to build more homes and factories if we're going to solve the national housing crisis. Now, there's advantages to building in factories. You can do it faster, in fact, twice as fast as traditional stick-built homes. You can avoid having to deal with Canadian winters by manufacturing indoors, or I should say Canadian spring when I look outside today in Calgary. You can also work around the clock. You can advance automation to become more efficient. There's a number of different advantages that can make it more cost-effective and more time-effective to actually build the homes that we need. Today's announcement is going to represent a dramatic shift towards supporting more home building and factories. The Prime Minister has indicated there's going to be more than $600 million in support in the upcoming budget. It's going to do a few key things. First, it's going to incentivize adoption of new technologies and strategies that will help scale up existing home building opportunities and factories. We're also going to work with regional development agencies to make sure that we're plugged into opportunities on the ground to scale up as quickly as possible. These programs are going to start rolling out as soon as this summer, and over the next 2 years, we expect that we're going to be able to deploy $100 million to achieve these ends. But when I actually talk to home building factories across the country, they tell me consistently they need orders. They need consistency and demand to justify the investments that's going to allow them to scale up. I met recently with a group of home builders in New Brunswick, groups like Maple Leaf Homes, Prestige Homes, Supreme Homes, Ironwood Homes. We're here at NRB Modular Solutions. I was previously with Mitsui in Surrey, BC, and even in my home community in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, Eastcut Homes is looking to scale up. Without that consistency and demand, it's hard to justify a major investment to expand a factory. But by putting $500 million on the table that's reserved for financing for factory-built homes that adopt new technologies like modular housing, panelization, or mass timber, we're going to be able to kickstart a pipeline of projects that will see those scale-ups take place. What's exciting for me as well is the new design catalog presents an incredible opportunity to design standards that can be used to achieve economies of scale. This is the kind of thing that's going to see more fourplexes, sixplexes, accessory dwelling units, row homes that can be produced en masse so we can actually build faster and in a more cost-effective way. This is all going to be tied into a strategy that will allow us to streamline the design, financing, manufacturing, and municipal approval in a way that will build more homes more quickly. And finally, we're going to be working with stakeholders, including organized labor, including the home building sector, and experts in housing policy, to launch an industrial policy that's going to allow us to scale up home building and create an awful lot of good paying jobs across this country at the same time. I want to say thank you, merci tout le monde pour l'opportunité de participer dans cet événement. C'est mon plaisir maintenant de passer la parole à mon ami et collègue, Ms. Boissonnault. Randy, thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. You may not have seen it, but Sean is my seatmate in the House of Commons, and I see each and every day just how much he is a true housing warrior to address the housing crisis. Prime Minister, thank you for bringing us all together here today, and for you and Sean to join George and me here in Alberta. Mark, thank you very much for hosting us, for showing us your processes. I mean, NBR next, building revolution, well done. And look, I'm the Minister of Jobs. Okay, I shortened the title, okay? It's Minister of Employment and Workforce Development, official languages, but I shortened it. I'm Minister of Jobs and official languages. And I'm extremely pleased that each and every one of you did a very good job here. And thanks to you, we're going to solve this housing crisis. We're going to get the supply done. And so thank you for what you're doing each and every day. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. Absolutely. As the Prime Minister said, we've been making a lot of announcements over the last few days, all focused on making life more fair for Canadians. For many people in Alberta right now and across Canada, housing is a real source of anxiety. Pour de nombreuses personnes ici en Alberta et à travers le pays, le logement demeure une source d'anxiété réelle en ce moment. Calgary and its surrounding area is one of the fastest growing metro regions in the country, and the reality is that for far too many people, rents are high, budgets are stretched, and the promise of someday owning a home is getting harder instead of easier. But it doesn't have to be this way, and our government believes that everyone and every generation deserves a fair shot at success. As the Prime Minister said, we are changing the way we build homes in Canada to make life fairer for everyone. And what we've announced today is part of our government's commitment to explore every single avenue to make housing affordable for all Canadians. Comme l'avait dit le Premier ministre, nous sommes en train de changer la véritable façon dont la construction des logements se fasse ici au Canada afin de rendre la vie plus équitable pour tout le monde. Ce que nous avons annoncé aujourd'hui répond à notre engagement d'explorer toutes les voies possibles pour rendre le logement plus abordable pour tous les Canadiens. That means drastically increasing the number of new builds, unlocking low-cost financing for new projects, and teaming up with communities to streamline processes and get Canadians into homes faster. It means introducing added renter protections through the Canadian Renters' Bill of Rights and revitalizing the government's post-war housing catalogue to support a wide array of housing designs. And it means being innovative, creative, doing things differently. Luckily, that's something we do really well here in Alberta, and you are all proof of that. Et ça veut dire qu'il faut être créatif, innovant, faire des choses de façon différente. Et heureusement, on sait juste exactement comment faire cela ici en Alberta. So whether it's supporting the amazing work being done here at NRB or AccuBuilt Homes in my own city of Edmonton, or many of the other incredible innovators that Sean mentioned across the country, this budget is about unlocking the power of Canadian entrepreneurs and innovators to create a made-at-home solution. And as Minister of Jobs, I can tell you, it's also about empowering the workers who will get the job done here in Alberta and across the country, because we have some of the most skilled workers in the world right here. And Budget 24 is going to make sure that they're at the table as we continue to advance our plan for home building. Budget 24 is about building, building, building. Building on the progress we've already made to make life easier for all Canadians, building on the nearly 750,000 homes we're already building, and building on our promise to make life affordable and more fair for every generation. Everyone deserves an affordable place to call home in Alberta, and across Canada, and Budget 24 sets out to do just that. Tout le monde mérite un logement abordable ici en Alberta et dans l'ensemble du Canada, et le budget 2024 vise à faire exactement cela. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister. We'll now begin the question period. One question, one follow-up. First question goes to the Globe and Mail.
Hi, Kelly Kreiderman from the Globe and Mail. Prime Minister, earlier this week, you spoke about the demand side of the housing, talking about how the number of non-permanent residents in the country needs to be under control. The population grew by 1.3 million last year. It's the fastest rate of growth in nearly 70 years. How do you explain to Canadians that it's not your government that's responsible for that lack of control at this point?
The federal government sets the permanent resident immigration levels every year, and we've had that steadily growing from 400,000 close to 500,000 now, because that's actually what we can take in, what we need to take in to keep our economy growing. That has been providing Canada's growth at a time of opportunity and low labor shortages. So we're going to continue to welcome in immigrants, as Canada has always done over the years. People who build our communities, people who are part of the fabric of our communities and build a better future for themselves and their families. That's the permanent immigration numbers that we continue to stay strong with. The challenge is, over the past 2 or 3 years, we've seen spikes in asylum seekers, and particularly a massive spike in temporary workers and in international students. Now, on international students, that's largely a responsibility of the educational institutions and the provinces themselves that set those levels of international students. International students went from a few 100,000 a number of years ago to close to 1 million over these past years. That spike in international students hasn't just been putting pressure on the communities in which they rent and live around their universities. It also has degraded the quality of the experience we need them to get and learn when they come to Canada. So we've put in limits on international students so that we can ensure the system is able to support them, that universities are building more housing for them, and that young people themselves who come across the oceans to get the best quality of education in Canada get that best quality of education. The other thing that's happened since the pandemic, particularly, is a massive increase in temporary workers. Now, we know in certain agricultural sectors and fisheries, there's always going to be a need for temporary foreign workers where Canadians won't do those jobs. But in a lot of other areas, we need to make sure we're impressing on the need to pay good salaries to Canadians to be able to work in a lot of different ranges. So we're working with our Minister of Jobs and Minister of Immigration and provinces and territories to make sure that the significantly increased numbers of temporary immigrants in terms of temporary foreign workers is brought to reasonable levels. What does reasonable levels look like? Well, in 2017, temporary residents made up about 2% of Canada's population. Right now, they make up about 7.5% of Canada's population. That's where all the pressure on our house, or a big part of the pressure on our housing markets and on other areas are coming from. And that's why we are now working with the provinces who have a big role to play both on international students and on temporary workers, to bring that number down towards perhaps 5%, which will take pressure off the housing sector, but also maintain our support for welcoming people around the world to build and grow their lives, some permanently in Canada, some to bring that expertise home after they've had their work or study stretch here. It's how Canada continues to function. We're making sure it functions that way into the future.
Prime Minister, your government has had a number of announcements on rentals this week. On the mortgage side, would you to the Finance Department pushing insured amortizations to 30 years or more for those who are renewing their mortgages or getting mortgages?
First of all, there's a really good reason a lot of what we've had to say this past week has been focused on renters. Because particularly when you look at young people, people starting a family, Gen Z or millennials, they're paying more and more on rent and seeing less and less of an opportunity to do what their parents' generation was able to do, which is set aside and save for eventually putting a down payment on and being able to pay a mortgage. The irony is, young people paying and young families paying more and more every month on rent are not getting credit for it, among other things. If you pay $2,000 a month in mortgage payments, that goes to your credit score, you become more reliable, you become someone that banks are going to lend more money to. You're spending $2,000 a month every month paying off your rent responsibly and properly. Banks should be able to see that and say, wow, you could handle a mortgage payment. We should be lending you money so you could get into your first home. That's not something that Canada or anywhere else in the world really does well right now. So that's one of the announcements we're making to make sure that young people who are paying such a huge part of their income on rent actually get credit for it, so it works towards being able to get a mortgage and eventually own a home. These are things that we're putting forward, bringing more protections for renters. We're also moving forward on incentives around the apartment construction loan program that is going to unlock the construction of more rental apartments across the country, including affordable and below market ones, that's going to allow more young people to get into those rents and have rents at affordable levels. The challenge is so many people have good jobs, but it's housing that is pushing them out of balance within their incomes. So yes, we've done a lot of emphasis on mortgages, on rental. On mortgages, we will have more to say between now and the budget date on April 16th, and perhaps we will save it for April 16th. But we have lots more to say because we recognize that the solution on housing is not any one thing. It's all of us working together in all different ways, in all sorts of different solutions, bringing together a truly Team Canada approach that reflects the diversity of this country, the reality of the challenges people are facing, and creates those solutions that are going to give people optimism and hope for now and into the future.
Next question.
Heather Yerkes-West with Global News. Prime Minister, yesterday we learned that Canadian intelligence believed there was a $250,000 fund linked to the Chinese government, possibly to fund foreign interference activities. When were you made aware of that intelligence?
Obviously, the question of foreign interference is one that is extremely important, and that's why, as a government, we put in place significant measures to ensure that, for example, our elections continue to be free and fair, despite what we have known for years is ongoing attempts at interference by various foreign actors. This has been going on for years and decades, not just in our democracies, but in our businesses, in our academic institutions, and particularly in diaspora communities who are vulnerable to interference and negative engagement from their home countries. That's why it is a good thing that the task forces and reports and analyses that our professional public servants and our security agencies did on the 2019 and 2021 election concluded that those elections were free and fair. The outcome was decided by Canadians, despite attempts by foreign actors to interfere. That's why we have right now a commission looking into this, bringing forward new information and highlighting it for Canadians, but also making recommendations about what we can continue to do even more to ensure we're protecting our democracy and our institutions. And I look forward to answering questions from the commission next week when I appear.
Documents submitted to the Foreign Interference Commission yesterday say that your National Security Advisor received CSIS intelligence in October 2019, suggesting there were irregularities in the 2019 Liberal nomination race in Don Valley North that Han Dong won. Did your National Security Advisor make you aware of that information at the time?
I look forward to taking all sorts of questions at the Commission next week.
Next question.
Bonjour, Anne-Marie Tricky de Radio-Canada. Donc, on va rester sur ce pour commencer. On se rend compte que le système en place, ça ne permet pas de l'alerte quand il y a des problèmes d'ingérence étrangère au niveau local. Pour la confiance des électeurs, est-ce qu'il faut que ça change?
La Commission est en train de regarder tout ce qu'on est en train de faire en tant que gouvernement, en tant que pays, pour nous protéger de l'ingérence étrangère qui se passe non seulement dans nos institutions démocratiques, mais dans nos entreprises, dans nos institutions de recherche et nos universités depuis très longtemps. Nous nous devons de toujours rester à l'affût et capables de contrer ces efforts de compromettre nos systèmes, nos institutions par des pays étrangers. Mais c'est important de se souvenir que les conclusions de tous les experts qui se sont penchés sur les processus électoraux en 2019 et en 2021, parce qu'en tant que gouvernement, on a mis en place ces mesures et ces protocoles-là, ont tiré la conclusion que les élections ont été rigoureuses et justes dans la façon qu'ils se sont déroulées, malgré les essais d'ingérence d'autres pays. Mais nous sommes très contents du travail excellent qu'est en train de faire la Commission et nous sommes très ouverts à toute recommandation et décisions prises par la Commission pour améliorer nos processus de protection des Canadiens de l'ingérence étrangère.
Merci. Et pour la deuxième question, c'est possible de répondre en anglais également. Donc, ici en Alberta, il y a des ministres, en fait, qui dénoncent le fait que ces annonces sur le financement en logement ont trop de conditions attachées, que le gouvernement fédéral ignore encore une fois les champs de compétences des provinces. Or, le gouvernement provincial ici a l'intention de déposer un projet de loi pour empêcher que le fédéral puisse avoir des ententes avec les municipalités, comme c'est le cas d'ailleurs au Québec. Donc, j'aimerais juste votre réaction à ça. Là. Comment vous voyez ça?
On fait face à de réels défis pour les citoyens à travers le pays, au niveau du coût de la vie, au niveau de l'accès au logement, au niveau de l'épicerie, au niveau de l'énergie. Les gens font face à énormément de difficultés et les gens veulent que tous les paliers de gouvernement travaillent ensemble pour résoudre ces problèmes, pour leur donner des solutions et donner la capacité de réussir. Ce qu'on est en train de faire au fédéral, c'est qu'on est en train de mettre de l'argent sur la table pour les provinces qui veulent être ambitieux dans la résolution des défis au niveau de la crise du logement, qui veulent aider les citoyens avec les garderies, avec des projets de nourriture dans les écoles. On est là pour dire, non, vous les provinces, vous n'avez pas besoin d'être seuls là-dedans. Le fédéral va être là pour aider avec de l'argent sur la table si vous le voulez. Si vous ne voulez pas être ambitieux au niveau du logement, vous ne voulez pas aider plus d'enfants à avoir de la nourriture aux écoles, ben, vous n'avez pas besoin de prendre l'argent du fédéral et vous serez seul dans votre champ de compétences. Mais on est en train de mettre de l'argent sur la table pour aider les Canadiens si les provinces sont assez ambitieux pour vouloir aider. Canadians are hurting right now. They need solutions. They need solutions around housing. They need solutions around affordability, around rent, around energy, around food for their kids, around childcare. We recognize provinces have a responsibility and jurisdiction over those areas, but the federal government is saying, you know what? We can be there to help as well. So we've put money on the table for those provinces that choose to be ambitious about what they want to do. If they don't want to do more in those areas, they don't have to take our money. But if they want to deliver for their citizens, we're saying, be ambitious, be as ambitious as we are, and we'll help pay for it. It's about providing solutions to Canadians. It's not about fighting with municipalities or with provinces. It's about saying, we're here to help. Because the scale of the challenges people are facing requires us all to work together. And we are here, as we have been from the beginning, to work together constructively to deliver for Canadians. That's what people want, and that's what we'll do together.
Next question.
Hi, Tiffany Goodwin, City News. Premier Danielle Smith recently penned a letter to you criticizing the increase to the carbon tax. She says the carbon tax has increased stress and pain for millions of Canadians, and she's also calling for a meeting to discuss the carbon tax and its impacts. And it's not just Conservatives who are calling for this, Wab Kinew as well. Will you hold a meeting?
I find it interesting that Danielle Smith actually changed her mind on this one. A number of years ago, she was asked about the price on pollution and the Canada carbon rebate that comes with it. And she said she likes it because it puts more money in the pockets of her family. That it actually delivers more while fighting climate change. So it helps with affordability and it helps fight climate change. And she said that because that's exactly how we designed this program. We knew we had to fight climate change. We knew Canadians want us to fight climate change. We only have to look at the wildfires that hit last summer in Alberta. We only need to look at the droughts, the floods, the impact of a changing climate on all of us to know we need to do our part. And there are great opportunities for businesses and innovators and Canadians that are a part of solving the challenges that a net zero world is going to require. But we have to take action. So we put a price on pollution everywhere across the country that is designed to put more money back in the pockets of hardworking Canadians. 8 out of 10 families across the country in jurisdictions where the federal carbon tax applies do better off. That's not just me who says it, it's a parliamentary budget officer has done the math on that as well. Here in Alberta, that's $1,800 for a family of 4 next year, or this year. Delivered in 4 payments, first which is going to arrive, the next which is going to arrive on April 15th. That's going to make a huge difference, both on affordability. And why do people like Danielle Smith and her husband do better because of it? Well, she said, because it puts more money in their pocket and they're able to reduce their emissions, or they're able to walk to work, or whatever it was that you can do that reduces your emissions, actually allows you to keep even more of that rebate that you're not spending on the price on pollution. Now the challenge to add on to it is that we delivering a rural top-up. For Canadians who don't live in the big cities, we know that there's not the same kinds of public transit, and there's longer distances to drive. So we increased the kind of carbon rebate by 10% for everyone living in rural areas. And we actually decided recently we were going to increase it to 20%. So here in Alberta, that'll be up to $2,200 for a family of 4. Means more money in the pockets of hardworking families. Yes, if you have a giant mansion and an indoor swimming pool and three big personal cars, it might not cover all of that. But for regular families that are hardworking, it puts more money in their pockets. Except, and here's one of the things that really frustrates me, Pierre Poilievre and his Conservatives are holding up that doubling of the rural top-up. That's hundreds of dollars going into pockets of rural Canadians that are not going to be landing on April 15th because the Conservative Party in Ottawa is blocking that doubling of the rural top-up because they are so ideologically opposed to both fighting climate change and putting more money in the pockets of Canadians. So I'm going to choose to believe Danielle Smith of a few years ago, before she started playing politics, when she said the price on pollution puts more money in the pockets of her and her family than it costs, because that's the reality for 8 out of 10 families across the country.
So I take it that that's a no, that you're not going to have a meeting?
We had a meeting on carbon pricing, and every single premier came together to work on establishing a pan-Canadian framework on climate change years ago. And part of it was that there would be a federal backstop to make sure that pollution wasn't free anywhere across the country, and that federal backstop would put more money in the pockets of Canadians in the areas where it applied. But jurisdictions that wanted to do that pricing differently could do it in different ways. Quebec moved forward with a cap-and-trade system. BC has had a price on pollution for a long time. They're not part of the federal program. Ontario, now this is a nice irony, Ontario actually started a cap-and-trade program. It was scrapped by Doug Ford when he first got elected, which means the federal price on pollution that he is now complaining about is in because he got rid of the Conservative cap-and-trade program that existed when he got elected. And now he's complaining about the federal backstop that he chose to bring in for Ontarians. But that's okay because it puts more money in the pockets of Ontarians like it puts more money in the pockets of Albertans. We cannot back off in the fight against climate change, in the fight to reduce our emissions and create those innovative solutions that the world's going to need. I know that's what Albertans want. But Albertans also need more money in their pockets right now for the daily cost of living, and that's why the Canada Carbon Rebate that puts more money in the pockets of families across Alberta is the right plan to both fight climate change and support families.
Hi, Prime Minister. Mark Villani here with CTV Calgary. Wondering why your government is bypassing the province of Alberta and going directly to cities with conditions on this federal housing money. Why not involve the province more on this? The province is a lot closer with these cities, relationship-wise.
One of the things that we knew was that we had to make sure municipalities could accelerate the building of housing. That's a responsibility that the federal government doesn't have direct carriage of. The municipalities, with their permits, with their zoning, with their density, are really important players in building more housing. Not just building a new project here with some federal money in it, but changing the way housing is built right across a city. Densification, better zoning, more rapid permitting, better use of public lands. These are things that municipalities have direct responsibility for. So we created a $4 billion, now a $4.4 billion housing accelerator program that actually says to cities, if you are ambitious about building housing, if you agree to 4 units as of right, things like 4 stories as of right, increased densification around transit, we will be there to give you this money so you can go and do that. And municipalities are doing it. And we're also encouraging provinces to do that, as what we're doing around building housing enabling infrastructure, particularly around water and wastewater treatments. We will be there with billions of dollars for provinces, wastewater and water projects, to new subdivisions that will allow for more housing if they remain ambitious about solving the housing challenges. If they don't want to build more housing, if they don't want to solve this housing crisis, then they don't have to take our money. But we are there to work in partnership with any province that wants to show leadership and ambition in how we're going to work together to solve the housing crisis. That's what we're there for. We'll work with municipalities, we'll work with the provinces, we'll work with nonprofits, ensure that developers are creating innovative new solutions to solve these things. We are there to work with everyone. That's what a Team Canada approach on solving the housing crisis is all about.
Last question.
Prime Minister Brian Labby, CBC. I wanted to ask you about the inquiry into foreign interference. We're hearing, obviously, it's not just China, but India and Pakistan. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we should consider those places as a threat to our electoral system?
We've known for many, many years that many different countries take an interest in engaging in Canadian institutions and interfering in work of Canadian institutions, whether it's our democratic institutions, whether it's research institutions and universities, or whether it's our businesses. That's why we have put in place significant measures to counter foreign interference. What the public inquiry is highlighting is all the different measures we've put in and looking at what more can be done and needs to be done, not just by the federal government, but by all Canadians in keeping our communities and our institutions safe. This is an important process that Canadians are getting to see everything that is done and everything that needs to be done. But I can assure people that we will continue to do everything necessary to prevent interference from whatever country it comes from.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you all.